Imagine being 16 years old and riding one of these things to school. I mean, I know that I would have completely lost my mind if I had that. I mean, my first bike was a little 250 Yamaha. Has nothing on something like this. This is the 2025 KTM 390 SMC-R. Now, this is a brand new platform for KTM. Recently, we've had the Enduro bike and we've also had the adventure bike, which run the same basic hardware effectively, but this is another model altogether. KTM is basically the only one really that allows, that produce the most amount of supermoto. I was going to say the only street supermoto, but that's not quite true because Suzuki, as we all know, has the DRZ 400 SM, and Husqvarna, which is a KTM brand, has the 701 and things like that. But really, if you're looking at it through the nuts and bolts, KTM is the supermoto brand. They've got the 450 SMR. As they used to, Husqvarna used to have the 450 SM, which is what, or FS, which is what I actually have. But yeah, they are the supermoto company. So no doubt they're going to start throwing it into the younger generation, so we say. And that's what this bike's aimed at. This bike's aimed really at new riders, guys that want to get onto the street, maybe those that have a little bit of experience riding off-road, riding dirt bikes, riding KTM's off-road products, which, look, as we all know, are brilliant. And I am not good enough a rider to tell you otherwise because they're so far above my pay grade on dirt that doesn't mean anything to me. Supermoto is where it's at. I love Supermoto, so let's get into it. Now at the heart of the SMCR is KTM single cylinder, 399 cc's or 398.8 if you want to be really pedantic, 44 horsepower, 28.8, so we're going to call it 29 pounds-feet of torque. Granted, those aren't going to rip your arms out, those kind of numbers, but the performance is adequate. KTM saying with a full tank of fuel, this thing's going to weigh just over 350 pounds. Which, yes, is a little bit heavier than something like the 690, for example, that KTM produces. But there are a lot more exotic parts and things that aren't quite made to a budget with that motorcycle. This is only $54.99, so a brand new bike for under 5.5, prior to dealer taxes and all that kind of stuff. So look, it's going to be over $6 by the time you get it out the door. But hey, like for under $5,500. That's a lot of motorcycle for the money. Now, Michelin Power 6 tires with this. We did about 3 hours on road today and 3 sessions on track out at Apex. Tires on road are really good. When you take them out to the track, you got to be a bit careful because they're very hard, and so the grip level tends to not be quite what we're used to when you're going out, especially if you're used to riding slicks out on a racetrack. But they're adequate. Given there is a little bit of weight behind you, it still teaches you how to ride a supermoto effectively. 9.05 inches of wheel travel front and rear. So it is like a big old dirt bike, let's be fair. Like you got a lot of room when you get that weight transfer in and over, and it allows you to slide the bike really well. It's a really, really enjoyable bike to ride. Plus you're graced with 2 riding modes. You get switchable traction control. You get Supermoto mode for your ABS as well. That's a good thing. So once you start going down through the modes, you get into the highest mode. You put it on Supermoto ABS, which means you can disengage the rear ABS. Allows you to get out there and have a real good old time with it. It's a brilliant fun bike to ride. One thing which I actually found really interesting was this new dash. So this kind of like, I don't even know what it's a long rectangle of a dash. I think it's 4.2 or so inches. They've crammed a huge amount of information into that dash and made it really, really easy to use. So they've got your little joystick here. It amazes me when I see dashes like this, why some of the other manufacturers continue to plug away with impossible to use dashes. I mean, this thing's got ABS, traction control, switchable riding modes, all the stuff that much, much higher spec bikes have, but it's so much easier to use. And we've got graphs on there, and you can do turn-by-turn navigation as well. So like, KTM really nailed the user experience on this, and a lot of the manufacturers really need to figure this out. KTM will be producing a number of accessories for the SMCR. One of the accessories that our bikes came with, which is an absolute must, cost you $277, I think, if memory serves me correctly, is the quick shifter. Up and down quick shifter, and it is mapped really, really well. I wish I had a quick shifter on my personal 450 FS Husqvarna Supermoto, because man, it is such good fun. Like, it's really light shift. It does everything exactly as it should. Yeah, really, really nice, nicely mapped system from KTM. So if you're actually going to buy one of these things, just splurge the extra little bit and get the quick shifter. There are other little bits as well that are going to come out, like little aesthetic things here and there, but we didn't test any of that stuff, and that's further down the road. But in terms of a performance upgrade, get yourself one of those things on your 390. Performance-wise, out of the 390 motor, look, as I said before, it's not going to rip your arms out, but it's perfectly applicable to everyday road situations. Isn't that the most boring statement you've ever heard in your entire life? I'm going to wash my mouth out with soap after saying that. But look, it does the job just fine. You know, you're 44 horsepower, that's plenty enough for everyday riding, traffic riding, things like that. And that's what this bike is really for. You know, this is not something that you're going to go out and do long miles on. You're certainly not going to do that with that seat. Like, it's comfortable enough. 45 minutes on board is like, that's about enough for me and my wrecked spine. But look, it's not too bad. But this is going to be the sort of ultimate commuter, city slasher, whatever you like. I mean, I would lose my license much quicker on something like this, probably, certainly would on the 690, than I ever would on something like a superbike, for example, because you can just get away with so much more on these things. It's basically the dirt bike for the street, and I'm all for it, but I don't think my license would be. They are really good value, $54.99. That's really good value from KTM. And as I say, imagine being 16 years old and turning up to school on one of these things. Money. Good times if you're a young kid looking to get into motorcycling. Anyway, guys, that's a very quick wrap up for the 390 Supermoto from KTM. Please give us your likes, comments, all that stuff down below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Until next time, keep a rubber side down. I'll see you then. Cheers.